Hi, hello, good evening. My name is Shantanu. I work as a part of the DevRel team at Powerloom. So we recently completed a great stint at ETH India. And first of all, congratulations for winning the bounty. And we are super proud, super happy to see that amazing product that came out of that little hackathon, I would say, with just 2,000 people.
Just 2,000.
Yeah, just 2,000 people. So coming to the whole agenda of today. So first of all, this is Aditya and this is me, Shantanu. So we'll be having a quick chat about his amazing product that is built out in ETH India. And we'll also quick chat about how you use Powerloom, what are the challenges that you faced, and what are your future perspectives as well. So let's get started with a quick intro of yourself, your team, and your product.
Thanks a lot, Shantanu, first of all, for inviting and doing this whole thing. I think, just talking a bit about myself, I'm Aditya Vijayakumar, and I basically worked on this project called as Masala Wallet at this ETH India, which was ETH India 2023. And then I think we did pretty well, right? We ended up being the ETH India finalists too, and then also won the Powerloom bounty. So that was really sweet. But speaking in general about myself, I've been in the whole blockchain space since about 2020. Oddly enough, the founders of, I should say, both the co-founders of Powerloom, like Swaroop and Anumit, were the people who introduced me to the whole concept of blockchain and Web3. They were doing this whole boot camp called as a block which boot camp, right? And this was in April 2020, peak of the entire COVID lockdown. That's how I got started. I was completely hell-bent on doing the exact opposite, which at least in the whole college world, right? Blockchain and this AI are the two opposites, you can say. You're either doing one or you're doing the other. You're not doing both.
Right.
And I was leaning really hard towards the ML thing, but then the introduction of the whole bootcamp and my journey through it, they helped me participate in Hack Money, win the Hack Money bounty as well in that whole process. And that was also an ETH Global Hackathon, by the way. So that whole process got me into blockchain. And then since then, I've just never looked back. There have been fantastic mentors, both Swaroop and Anumit.
Awesome.
And then over the years, I've tried to explore things by myself. And then I've been working for the last year or so on a product of my own called as Reputex. It's basically we're building a Web3 reputation protocol. So that's a bit about myself. And so we were actually ETH India finalists last year as well. We built something called as proof of trust.
Lovely.
So off that time, right? I think last year FTX, the whole scandal was the big news. So we were really kind of figuring out okay, this is a major problem. How can we figure it out? I mean, how can we solve it? So we built something called proof of trust, which is to prove that when your assets are basically greater than or equal to your liability, that's when you have your reserves, I should say, are greater than or equal to your liabilities. That's when you kind of have exchange that is liquid, right? You can provide liquidity at any point of time. So we built this whole model for that, and that of course caught the attention of all the judges over there because it was a very valid problem statement. This year we built Masala Wallet. So just giving a bit context, right, about the problem, what we kind of focused on. I think in the last year or so, ERC-4337, the whole account abstraction has become huge for good reasons, right? Private key management is a real problem, and that has to be resolved. It's not just purely for new people to be onboarded, but also for people who have been in the ecosystem. It's a problem. If you have a private key, you are worried. You are going, and especially if you have a lot of assets, you're not going to sleep that well, and unless and until that you're really sure it's very secure. And then multi-sigs and all do exist, but nothing is convenient, right? Convenience-wise, user experience-wise, security-wise, nothing has really worked. And this has actually stayed the same for a long, long time, right? We've actually not made huge leaps of progress as much in the last few years. Of course, in the last year, some things have changed, wherein this whole user experience was prioritized. So a lot of wallets came in wherein it's you're using your passkey, your Apple biometrics or your Android biometrics to use that as a key component of your wallets, and then just improving the user experience a lot, but adding that whole centralized element. Because Apple can come in overnight, they can change the entire encryption algorithm, and then you're doomed. You've lost access to your whole wallet. That was the problem that exists over there. But they made a huge leap in the user experience, that you cannot deny that. The user experience-wise, it became really, really good. It became really enjoyable to use a Web3 wallet. But then, let's say Qualcomm comes up with a new chip, or Sony comes up with new lenses, right? Does some new hardware. Apple is going to change it because Apple is not built this for Web3. They are going to change the whole thing. They are going to do it overnight, and then you're screwed now. You have nothing to do with that. Actually, there are multiple problems over here. Even the cryptography algorithms used are completely different. But I'm just giving a brief overview of why this is problematic. But we were inspired by that user experience, change. So we kind of focused on that, saying, can we bring in something similar like a Web2 user experience to this whole Web3, but not compromise on the whole wallet security. We want to make sure there's no centralized elements, so it's fully decentralized. Those are things we kind of thinking a lot about. And basically, we built a Masala Wallet in that process, right? It's like you sign up, you enter a username, you choose a good enough password, right? And then a ZK snark friendly hash of that password is generated. It's put on a smart contract and it's mapped to your username. You basically want to transact. Anytime you want to transact, I should say, you just generate a ZK snark proof, which is a zero knowledge proof that says that, hey, I know the password and nobody else does. And then you also say that this is a transaction I want to do, and nobody else can, kind of manipulate that. And you just have some paymaster, anyone who's incentivized to just pay for the transaction fee. It's sent over there, and then it transacts to your smart contract. Right? I'm just simplifying it a lot because we have a lot to talk right now.
Of course.
I don't want to waste time today, but yeah, that's kind of what we worked upon.
Amazing.
So yeah, I think
that's a lovely product. So I mean, not just the Powerloom team, right? So even on a broader sense, I spoke to like a couple of devs at ETH India. So there's like, there's some product called Masala Wallet. I was like, bro, I know these guys very well. So, I mean, I have a curious question. This is off the interview grid. So why did you name Masala Wallet?
I mean, come on, right? Let's look at the entire Web3 ecosystem space. We have Pancake Swap.
No,
right?
I mean,
we have like
absolutely.
this whole.
So you just wanted to give like an Indian twist?
Yeah, come on, like an Indian
absolutely.
twist. Why not? Right? So that was the only reason, like nothing else, to be honest.
Got it. So can you help me understand a little more about the spices that you have added in the Masala Wallet?
The spices, I think the main key thing that we did differently this time was execute. If I'm being very honest, I feel quite proud about the submission, right? With all the other submissions, we had great ideas, right? But submission is quite different from the idea. Right. Submission is what you actually finished building in 36 hours.
Yes.
And we've kind of fallen short in the previous hack attempts of what we would have loved to do. We had great ideas, and I am quite confident about that, but submission-wise, we lacked. But this time, I think we really outdid ourselves. We had a team of 5 people. We had a guy who was like several years of experience in React Native, a backend specialist, a web app specialist, and then I was doing the smart contracts and the so creates zero knowledge part. And then we had another person who's like, you've been in the blockchain space for 6-7 years, Prince, who also worked on this. So yeah, we had like a really good team. And we kind of, the submission that we did was like, I would say like what set us apart, because we finished the complete end-to-end working mobile application, as well as the whole, ZK proof part, submission, the contracts, the whole thing working on multiple networks. So we were able to show the whole end-to-end working. That was the main thing. Of course, in terms of the underlying concept, like I just explained, zero knowledge proof is what has been powering the whole thing. That's like the key spice which enables it to happen. But then I think the finished product is all the other spices, which is the user interface, the mobile app working, and all of that. Yeah.
Interesting. So my next question is around Powerloom. So what did Powerloom, what motivated you to choose Powerloom, and what are the elements that you have used to build your entire product?
So yeah, like I was just saying, right, like I worked on, and I'm continuing to build Reputex, which is like a reputation system, and over there we closely work with the data. That's the point I'm getting to. So I know the current data protocols that do exist, and some of the, I won't say loopholes, but like the caveats and the shortcomings that they do have, and then quite familiar with it, right? And then with Masala Wallet, we wanted to like keep this very, very decentralized, right? Like we wanted to ensure that the key concept was harnessing like the decentralized systems. And Powerloom does it best, right, in terms of the data and the whole thing. And for the username selection, we have to ensure that it's unique. And the thing is, the way we've planned it, we're using something called as create to function, like in smart contracts, right, which allows you to create the same address-based smart contract wallets on any network.
Right.
And this means we want to allow them to lazy create their smart contracts. So let's say you're going to start off your journey by using Polygon. Somebody else wants to start off their Web3 journey by using, let's say, like activating the whole thing on Arbitrum, whatever the case might be. Right now, this is on multiple different chains and networks. It's happening cross chains and cross networks. So we still wanted to ensure that that's possible, while at the same time kind of aggregating and having a unique set of usernames. Because over here in the system, you cannot have a username clash. The usernames cannot clash. So, and at the same time, like I said, the data has to be very reliable and has to be properly computed and generated in a manner which we can directly consume. And essentially, the reliability is quite important. Plus, it's cross chain.
Right.
So of course we couldn't build out the whole thing in the particular hackathon, but then we were able to demonstrate that whole concept, right, in this particular hackathon using Powerloom, wherein we were aggregating that whole data, particularly the usernames, to be able to consume it and use it in the mobile application. And at the same time, we were able to build like a small dashboard to like show how many users are there, and then like that was the whole idea over there.
Interesting. So did you run into any challenges while integrating all of these?
Not that I should like, nothing as such, to be honest. I was sleepy, right? Like, come on, I'll be very blunt and honest. Like, I was running on 0 hours of sleep, right? We've been hacking continuously. We got all the integrations towards the end after we had like the key stuff built out. So this was at probably like, I don't know, 4 a.m. in the morning on like day 3, right, on Sunday. So I was definitely lacking a lot of sleep.
Absolutely.
I did recall like I attended even the DeFi workshop, right, which was conducted by Powerloom a few days before. So I did remember a few stuff that, Anumit had gone over and Akshay had gone over. So I was using that memory of that while going over it. But then I was really sleepy, so I had missed out a few ENV variables and stuff. That was on me. But then like once I had got that right, like I set up the whole thing correctly, it was quite simple. So I had to just fork it. And like I had to firstly clone the whole repo, just fork the other things for the config and the computes, right? And then like added the whole stuff, and then it was like running in no time.
Lovely. So I mean, we have seen like a lot of companies, a lot of products that come out of Hackathon, right? So what's your future plan with Masala Wallet? I mean, do you want to make it the next big thing, or how do you think about it?
I mean, I think we're still kind of recovering from the high of like the whole hackathon, being able to present it on stage in front of such a large audience, because that's always the joy, right? Like the joy of hacking is 1, making good submission, and 2, hopefully winning some prize money. And the silver lining is always when you get to present it on stage as a finalist in front of such a large crowd.
Right.
And ETH India was like humongous this time too. Like I think there were more submissions this year in terms of number of projects than last year as well. I think it was somewhere around 480, 490, quite close to 500 projects this time. So yeah, my point being like we're still kind of like getting over that high. We are definitely quite interested. We love the idea. Actually, we explored the whole idea and concept of wallet quite closely in the last 6 months. We've been watching the development of what's happening outside. I think with Alex, there's a blog post called as Web3 Transitions. And oddly enough, we also had the chance to be able to like attend this talk where he gave in Singapore, where it was called Web3 Transition Summit, wherein he speaks of all these different things. And one of the key things he focused on like is like the whole wallet part, right? As to like what's necessary over there. We were able to ask him some questions. Just boiling down to my point, essentially, we've explored a lot in the wallet space, so we're passionate about it. We want to do something. We're not quite 100% sure of what that is. I think this Masala Wallet submission and like winning, being a finalist adds to that whole thing. So we are a bit more motivated right now, and then we're going to like brainstorm a lot more. The entire team who worked on this, and then hopefully we can figure out like the right kind of path that we can take forward from here.
Interesting. Sounds cool. I mean, looking forward for that.
Yeah.
And you know where to reach out if you need some help.
Sure, for sure.
Next question around is for aspiring developers, right? So there are a lot of new devs that come into the hackathon scenario every year, and as we have seen the new faces this year. I could see like 2,000 people sitting there, building something out, and there are a few newbies who join in. So what are your suggestions after hacking like 3 different hackathons and winning most of them? So what are your point of view? What are your suggestions to these new folks?
I think if very modestly, if I may, like just add another there, we've I think had a streak of winning like some 5-6 hackathons.
Lovely. I'm sorry I missed the number.
No, just very modestly adding it over there. But then like I wish Swaroop and Anumit were doing the whole bootcamp thing. I would have recommended that off because I remember going around my entire college recommending them to like join the bootcamp, and then a few of them did. But if someone's getting started, I don't really know, because I think, if I'm being very honest, there's a lot of noise. One thing I would say is like don't go huge on Twitter, like what people are saying on Twitter. It's good to follow up, right? It's good to follow up to see what people are discussing and do your own research. Don't go by the research on Twitter, right? Because that's not research. That's just someone posting on Twitter about something. That's very biased.
Right.
But you have to kind of keep track of like what's the buzz, which Twitter is a decent space for. I should call it X, I don't know, but I'm still going to keep calling it Twitter. And like coming to the resource and all that, there are a lot of good resources. I'm not sure which one to mention right off my head. I think Tap University is where people usually get started if they want to do the smart contract non-solidity. But I mean, it's all about fundamentals, right? I feel like people want to, let's say you've never done development before and you want to do blockchain development, that's not the way to go. Right. Blockchain is one of the pieces you add to your existing set of like whole development experience. So if you know how to build a web app, and if you know how to build like a decent backend, like how to build mobile apps, whatever, you need to figure out those parts.
Right.
Once you figure out that, and then you start learning this, you're able to really figure out what you're trying to do and how you can build those things. So for example, if you know React, right, you can usually use something called Scaffold ETH, which is like a very popular tool. Right, you can use Scaffold ETH to be able to basically add your contract API, add your whole stuff. In fact, you can now, I think, there's hard hat support inbuilt. So you can just code your smart contract right there, deploy it on your local hard hat, test out the whole thing. But that's possible only if you know React and you're getting into the whole Web3 space. If you have no idea whatsoever, then like it becomes quite difficult. So learn your Web 2 stuff, have your basics cleared, and once your basics are cleared, there's just some key concepts in blockchain, understanding how consensus works, all the different consensus algorithms that exist, figuring out like some new stuff that has been added to smart contracts, why it exists the way it is. I love giving a different analogy, but I think that'll make this whole session quite too long. But then like reach out to the people who have done it before. The community is usually quite amazing. I'm sure they can come on Powerloom as well and like the Discord, ask for like some help, and they can find that help too. So yeah, the people are quite willing to help, but make sure you cover your basics first, your basic Web 2 journey, and then get to the Web 3 part. Then it will become quite easier. Because if you know any language, Solidity is just another language with some key add-ons, right? Like to support the smart contract and the whole, EVM and all that stuff. So if you know any language, you can start easily, coping up and adapting to Solidity. It's not a big deal. But then you need to know that whole part. Yeah. And in fact, in blockchain, you can very much exist as a front-end developer. There's a huge demand for front-end developer. You don't have to be a Solidity smart contract developer.
UI has always been a problem. Yeah.
Exactly, right? And at the same time, writing smart contracts is not very easy, right?
Right.
There are many audits, and the audits are very expensive right now in the whole Web3 space.
Right.
So, if you're passionate about it, go for it, of course. But there's a huge demand for Web2, just people who are adapted to the whole Web3 system as a front-end developer, as well as just figuring out in some cases, backend is also quite essential. Yeah. So even being a backend engineer and knowing some of these concepts is quite helpful.
So, the last question for the day is, Powerloom has been supporting devs for for like around a year or so. But since you have built on Powerloom, won a bounty into the ETH India Hackathon, do you have any specific feedback for the team so that we can help, accelerate the development journey for the rest of the developers?
Nothing as such, to be honest. I think you guys have been building in public, right? That's a huge plus.
Yeah.
You can access the entire repo and go over how things are built and the entire structures. That's fantastic. What I'm personally quite curious about is the whole composability layer. I think Anumit spoke about it in the workshops and all that. I'm quite fascinated by that. I'm guessing there are some examples, but I feel like there are maybe a few more examples that are quite, intricate. What I mean by that is, for example, tracking wallet specific, deposits and all that stuff on Uniswap. I think right now, Uniswap general tracking is happening, and I know this is possible too because I remember Anumit explaining it. But like an actual, example where you can see it working, where you can track the entire, Uniswap portfolio of a particular person,
right,
as well as the entire, the DEX of Uniswap, the TVL size and all that. That'll be quite interesting because this is pure creativity thinking wise, innovation thinking wise,
right,
wherein when you know something is possible, your mind, your entire creativity kind of broadens, wherein you can start innovating in that space, brainstorming that space, and also kind of thinking along the lines because of the reputation thing that we've worked on. So that whole angle also where you can being able to track wallets and their journeys in a particular thing, I think it's quite meaningful.
Lovely. Thank you so much for the feedback. Thank you so much for answering my questions. This was lovely.
This was great.
It was lovely having you. And looking forward for more hackathons and looking forward for Masala Wallet to turn into a more spicier wallet.
For sure.
So that my parents and the other folks who haven't been a mainstream audience for the Web3 space can easily use it. So looking forward for that. Thank you so much, Aditya. It was wonderful speaking to you.
Yeah, same here. Pleasure talking to you. Thanks for inviting. And let's hope Powerloom is right there behind us to support it, and then we are able to build something really cool with Masala Wallet.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.